Hello guys, welcome to this video Python series, and in today's video we're going to talk about functions. Finally, we are getting into more interesting stuff, and in today's video we're going to introduce a function and look at an example of a function. And but for starters, we want to know what is a function. Mainly a function helps us to group our code. Most of the code we have written so far is scattered all over our code editor. But functions help us to put code or code that performs similar tasks together. Mainly, that's the purpose of a function. Group the code together such that it is more readable, more organized, and more of that, and then it can be reused. But how do we write functions in Python? In Python, we write functions by using the def keyword that is given to us by the language, followed by the function name. Now, a function, then the function name takes on the brackets, of course, but the function can sometimes take arguments, okay, depending, or sometimes it might not. And then we end it with the dot dots, and then we have the body right there. Now, that's how we write a function, and I'll leave this here just to see. Now, to make things more interesting or more serious, so to say, we have this question that is going to help us build our function. If you look at it, I'll do this such that we can have a proper view. Okay. So we are saying, the question is saying, given an array of integers, nums, actually we should say given a list, because an array in Python is literally a list. There are of course advanced arrays, NumPy arrays, but at this level we can look at them as lists. Given a list of integers, nums, and an integer target. So we have a list and a target. Okay. Return indices. So what we want are indices of those particular values that we want, of two numbers that they add up to the target. You may assume that each input would have exactly one solution, and you may not use the same element twice, and you can return the answer in any order. So literally what the question is saying is that you have this list of numbers, integers particularly, and you have the target variable. So return the indices of two numbers such that when you add those two numbers, you get the target. In this example, nums1, or in this first example, when you add 2 and 7, you get 9. So the output would be the first index, which is 0, and the second, which is 1. In this second example, the target is 6, and when you add 2 and 3, you get 5. That doesn't work, but 2 plus 4 gives you 6. So the indices would be 1 and 2, like that. That's the answer. And then lastly, the target here is 6, and when you look at this and this, you get 6. So 0 and 1 would give you that. So basically, that's what we want to achieve. And we're going to write this Python function, combining most of the things we have been looking at. Yes, because now we're just using what we have acquired so far to build something interesting. Okay, so we define our function, def keyword, and the function we want to call is toSum. I will call it list2sum, maybe. Yes. Now, will our function take what we call function arguments? Yes. Which arguments? It takes the list, which we call nums. By the way, there's something we call type hints in Python, whereby we are explicitly declaring the type of that argument that you're passing. For example, this is a list of integers, and this was added into Python in Python 3.5. So from Python 3.5 and above, you can have access to type hints. and it is in the typing class, I think. From typing, we want to import list. Okay, so we have, don't forget, don't mind much about this. Even if it's not there, our code will run, but we want to explicitly be clear that this is a list. And then we have the target that we want, and these are int. Sorry, this is an int. By the way, I've seen a paper saying these Python type hints are Turing complete. If you don't know what Turing complete is, you can check it out. Okay, so this is what we have, and what do we want to do? How can we solve such a problem? Mainly, we're just going to create some sort of like a pointer or 2 pointers. Just imagine that you are pointing at 2 and pointing at 7 at the same time. So at a given instance, you're pointing at 2 variables. And when you take a second instance, you're pointing at 7 and 9. So imagine that you have points pointing at 7 and 2 at the same time. And we can achieve that using loops. Now, that's the function defined. Now, since this is a list, since nums is a list, nums here, we want to first sort it. We might not even need to sort it, but we want to find its length. So, since nums is a list and we want to iterate through it, find its length. Okay, and the length we can call it n, and we have looked at the length, the len keyword that that we can use to find the length of a list. Okay, so to create the pointers, use 2 loops to iterate through the list. Yeah, and we are going to use the range keyword we looked at. So for I, in range, which range? So what we want about our pointer is the first pointer should be pointing at the first element, like 2, from 2 to all the way to 11, the second last. Then the second pointer should begin from 7 to the last. I hope that makes sense, such that for any iteration we are pointing at 2 different values, and we can check them and sum them up and see if they equal to the target. That's what we want to do. So the first pointer should begin from 0, which is the range you're saying, to n minus 1. I told you that if you're using range and you don't declare explicitly where you want to start from, you will begin from 0. So we begin from 0 to the second last, n minus 1. And then we want to declare another nested loop for j in range. And this should begin from where I starts plus 1. I plus 1. In other words, when I is 0, that means j will be 1 to the last, which is n. Okay, so when I is 0, it is pointing at 2. And when j is 0, it is going to be incremented from I, which is 0, plus 1. So that means the first value of j will be 1. So that means j is pointing at 2, so at 7. So we want to compare those 2 values. So if nums I plus nums j, if they are equaling to the target, okay, then we can return those 2 because now they equal to the target. Otherwise, if that is not happening, get out of that for loop and return an empty list. That means there is no solution, literally. That means in your list you cannot find those values. So that's one of the ways that's a complete solution or a function that we've defined. And to test it, we can call a print method maybe to see what comes out. This is not the best way to run this method, these two sums. So we pass the list that we want to test, which is that, and the target is 9. Okay, when we run Python index, voila, the indices we've gotten is 0 and 1, and that is exactly what we were expecting. So that's all I had for you guys in this video about functions. We're going to explore more ways of looking at functions and how we can have real-world applications of functions and how we can use them. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you want to say something. Bye-bye.